Pirmasens was a small town in West Germany, nestled near the French border. In the early 1960s, it was a peaceful place where everyone knew each other, and people didn't worry too much about safety. Children walked to school alone, played in the streets without fear, and roamed the town freely after school. It was the kind of town where nothing bad was ever supposed to happen. On the afternoon of November 25, 1960, something terrible happened that would change everything. A 9-year-old boy named Walter Broschat left his home around 4 p.m. and never returned. It was cold that day. The skies were gray and winter was creeping in. But Walter was a tough little boy, full of energy. He had finished his homework, eaten a snack, and asked his mother if he could go outside to play for a while before dinner. She agreed, as she usually did. It was just another normal day, or so it seemed. Walter was wearing his favorite red jacket, brown corduroy trousers, and a knitted hat. He carried a small toy truck with him, something he often took when he played in the dirt. He told his mom he was heading toward Messeplatz, a fairground area only a few minutes away on foot. Though the fair wasn't in town at that time, it was still a favorite spot for kids to hang around, especially when the place was empty and quiet. According to a few witnesses, Walter was seen walking alone near the Messeplatz, not far from a set of swings and a small patch of trees. One older woman said she saw him crouched down, pushing his toy truck along a patch of gravel. Another passerby thought they saw him walking toward the wooded area at the edge of the field. But no one saw what happened next. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the evening cold set in, Walter's mother began to worry. He was usually home by now. She stepped outside, calling his name down the street. No answer. She walked toward Messeplatz herself, thinking he might be playing and lost track of time. But the place was empty. No Walter. No toy truck. Nothing. By 6 p.m., she rushed back home, panic rising in her chest. She told her husband, and together they called the local police. Within the hour, officers arrived and began a search. They checked every alley, garage, and garden shed. Volunteers, neighbors, and family friends joined in, bringing lanterns and flashlights. The town was buzzing with worry. Police dogs were brought in. Officers knocked on every door in the neighborhood. But the boy had vanished completely. The next day, Walter's picture appeared on flyers and in the local newspaper. His wide eyes and toothy grin stared out from pages with big, bold letters, "Missing." The search expanded into nearby woods, railway lines, and even old bomb shelters left over from the war. They checked ponds, wells, and basements. Hundreds of people participated, and yet there was not a single clue. No footprints, no dropped hat, not even the toy truck he always carried. It was as if he had been swallowed by the earth. Speculations began to spread. Some people thought he might have fallen into an abandoned well or gotten lost in the forest. Others believed something more sinister, that someone had taken him, a stranger, a kidnapper, maybe even someone from the town itself. Police questioned known criminals in the area. They checked with train stations in case he had wandered too far. They even checked mental institutions nearby to see if any unstable individuals had escaped. But each lead ended in frustration. The town, once full of laughter and calm, now felt heavy with fear. Mothers held their children a little closer. Kids were no longer allowed to play alone outside. Streets that once echoed with the sounds of skipping ropes and bouncing balls now seemed eerily silent. Walter's parents were consumed by grief. His mother sat by the window for days, hoping to see his little red jacket come walking down the road. His father, once a cheerful man, stopped speaking much at all. The house felt empty. The investigation carried on for months. Tips came in from nearby cities. Someone thought they saw a boy matching Walter's description at a market in Saarbrücken. Another said they saw a child being dragged by a man into a van near the highway. Police followed up each one, but none led anywhere. Every report ended in a dead end. And then the worst began to happen. People stopped looking. The weeks turned into months, and slowly, the world moved on. The case remained open, but it was no longer front-page news. It became one of those quiet tragedies people whispered about, something they remembered in hushed voices. Walter Broschat was never found. Not a trace. No body. No belongings. Nothing to explain what happened on that cold November day. His disappearance was the kind that felt more like a bad dream than reality. But sadly, it was real, and it was only the beginning. Because just a few years later, another child would vanish from the same town, under nearly the same circumstances. And then another. 3 years passed since Walter Broschat disappeared, and although the town had tried to move on, the silence never really left. His case remained open, but with no new clues. It slowly became just a name in an old file. Families still whispered about it, especially mothers, who now kept a closer eye on their children. Some parents even moved away, thinking maybe the town had changed, or maybe something dark was hiding within it. Then, in 1964, another boy vanished. His name was Peter Gloystein, just 8 years old. He lived only a few streets away from where Walter used to live. Like Walter, Peter was an ordinary kid, playful, curious, a bit shy, but loved by his family and neighbors. On the afternoon of May 9th, a warm spring Saturday, Peter asked his parents if he could go out and play. He wanted to go to a nearby bakery to buy some sweets with a few coins he had saved. His mother gave him permission, reminding him not to take too long. It was a short walk, just 5 minutes away. Nothing to worry about. Peter left the house wearing a blue sweater and carrying a small coin purse. He was seen by a few people along the way. A shopkeeper remembered seeing him just outside the bakery, standing in line. Another person said they saw him near the public fountain, licking a lollipop. But after that, nothing. He never came home. Just like Walter, he had disappeared in the middle of the day, without a sound, without a single clue. This time, the town reacted even faster. Within hours, the police were involved. The streets filled with people searching for Peter. The bakery owner was questioned. People who had been on the street that day were asked to describe anything they saw, any car, any person, anything strange. But once again, nothing came of it. It was like the air had swallowed the boy. People began to draw connections. 2 boys, both under 10, both vanished in daylight, both from the same part of town. There were no signs of struggle, no witnesses, and no items left behind. Parents were terrified. Schools gave special warnings. Children were now being picked up directly by their parents. No one walked alone anymore. Rumors began to fly through the town like wild birds. Some believed there was a child abductor hiding in plain sight, maybe even someone from Pirmasens itself. Others thought it was something supernatural, something not human. A few even said the children had been taken by someone who lived underground, in the tunnels left behind from wartime. Though those ideas sounded like scary stories, the fear was real. Police now had 2 missing children with eerily similar details, and they began to suspect that the cases were connected. They brought in criminal psychologists from nearby cities. Investigators combed through every report, every person who had lived or worked in the area during both disappearances. They created a list of suspects, mostly men with past criminal records, especially those involved with children. But once again, no answers came. Posters with Peter's face were sent to nearby towns, and even across the border into France. Officers were placed at train stations. Road checkpoints were set up. Every abandoned building was searched. But Peter was gone, just like Walter. Now, the media began to pay attention. Newspapers outside of Pirmasens ran the story. Reporters came into town, asking hard questions. Was it the work of a serial kidnapper? Were the police doing enough? The pressure was building, but there were still no answers. And soon, the story faded again, just like the first one had. Years passed. The town grew older, but the wound stayed open. People talked about the missing boys only in whispers now. No one wanted to believe it could happen again. But in 1967, it did. A young boy named Heinrich Martin, age 7, went missing on his way home from school. He had taken the same route every day, past a small grocery store, down a side street, and then into his neighborhood. But on that particular day, he never made it. His mother began looking for him within an hour of his usual return time. She retraced every step he would have taken, asked neighbors, and called the police almost immediately. And once again, the same story played out. A full-scale search. Dogs, volunteers, helicopters. But there was no sign of Heinz. It was the third child, and the town was in shock. The pattern was undeniable now. All three were young boys. All disappeared within the same part of town. All were seen just before they vanished, and all were never seen again. This time, the public demanded action. Town hall meetings were held. The mayor faced angry crowds. Some people blamed the police. Others blamed local institutions, or even specific families. It felt like the whole town was pointing fingers in every direction. But nobody had the truth. Theories began to spread. Was there a man targeting little boys? Maybe someone who lived quietly, alone, with a hidden side no one knew? Some people believed it could be someone who worked with children. Maybe a teacher, a coach, or a neighbor who offered to babysit. Others believed it could be someone just passing through. Someone who had left no trace because they were never really part of town. The idea of a serial child abductor became more and more accepted. But without evidence, there was little the police could do. They tried setting up traps, placing officers in plain clothes, watching school routes, using decoys. But it didn't work. No one suspicious ever appeared. And eventually, just like before, the case went cold. By now, Pirmasens was no longer the peaceful town it had once been. Fear lived on every street. Trust was broken, and the parents of the missing children lived in quiet agony. They never stopped hoping. They never moved away. They kept the same phone numbers, the same front doors, in case one day their child came home. But deep down, most people knew they were likely never coming back. After Heinrich Martin's disappearance in 1967, Pirmasens fell into a deep silence. The once busy parks grew quiet. Parents refused to let their children out of sight. Behind every closed door, fear lived and grew. And when no answers came from the police, people began to whisper about something dark, something lurking where no one could see. Police had no suspects, no bodies, and no clues. They worked day and night, even sought outside help, including criminal profilers. Some suggested the abductions were planned by someone ordinary-looking, someone who lived among the townsfolk. But again, no solid trail appeared, just more theories. Then, in 1969, it happened again. 6-year-old Andreas Becker disappeared during a busy Thursday market. He was with his mother. She turned for just a few seconds to pay a vendor, and when she looked back, Andreas was gone. Dozens of people nearby, yet not a single person saw what happened. No one heard him cry. It was as if he had simply vanished into thin air. This fourth disappearance sent a shock wave through all of Germany. For the first time, national news covered the case. People from other cities began to fear the same could happen in their towns. Some compared it to American serial killings. Others believed Pirmasens was cursed. But locals felt something else. Helplessness. Theories grew. Some suspected child trafficking, maybe even cross-border smuggling into France. A few pointed to the dark, abandoned World War II tunnels beneath the town. There were rumors of former Nazi criminals still hiding out in rural areas. But again, no evidence. Only fear. Among the families, hope refused to die. Peter Gloystein's mother kept a journal, filled with clippings, notes, even birthday letters she wrote to her missing son. She searched for years, believing he was alive somewhere. She grew older, but she never stopped looking. Her journal was later passed down to her grandson, one of the last things connecting their family to Peter's memory. After 1969, the disappearances suddenly stopped. No more children went missing in the same pattern. Some believed the kidnapper had died. Others thought he was arrested for something unrelated. A few believed he simply moved on to another town, another set of victims. But the mystery stayed behind. By the 1980s, the stories became part of local folklore. Teenagers whispered about the missing children, dared each other to visit the spots where they vanished. Parents who had once lived in fear now watched their grandkids closely, but the unease never completely left. Decades later, in the early 2000s, a group of online true crime researchers revisited the case. They translated old German documents, built timelines, and even interviewed retired officers. One such officer, in a rare interview, admitted they always suspected a man who lived on the town's edge, a loner, strange but careful. He died in a car accident in the 70s, and they never found enough to connect him. It was one of many roads that led nowhere. Even now, the case remains open. Files gather dust in old cabinets. Families still light candles on anniversaries. And in Pirmasens, if you ask the old residents, many will shake their heads and change the subject. Others will quietly share a name, a memory, then fall silent. So what really happened to the children of Pirmasens? Were they taken by someone they trusted, hidden away in a place no one thought to look? Or was it something even stranger, something no one could understand? The truth is still out there, buried under time and silence. Maybe someone knows. Maybe someone saw something long ago but was too afraid to speak. And maybe one day, the truth will finally surface. Until then, the mystery remains. Thank you for watching. If you're drawn to real-life mysteries like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, AI Alvantis, for more haunting stories from history. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious.